In this video, I'm going to share a way of swatching your watercolours that's not only beautiful to look at, but is also really easy to do, even for beginners. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of swatching in general, and what I would call mindful swatching, where you see the act of swatching, or in this case, creating a work of art with those swatches, as something that will calm your mind and help you to relax if you're feeling overwhelmed, unsure of what to paint, or perhaps if you only have a short time to paint but would like to create something lovely without any stress. So this is a good time to make yourself your favourite drink, reach for your own sketchbook and paints, and join me for a relaxing painting session that's so easy anyone can do it. This time I'll be using the Storyteller palette of handmade watercolours. I curated these for Deep Light earlier this year. I'm going to be using just one brush, a size 4 Pro Arte round brush, and I'm using the large Fabriano Venezia sketchbook. I'll leave details of all of the materials in the description beneath this video. I'm going to be honest with you, I've been struggling recently. The recent heat waves in the UK have brought on a cycle of migraines that have been very difficult to deal with. I've spent many days feeling ill, and on some days I haven't been able to do very much at all, certainly not anything that requires too much concentration. I'm somebody who likes to be creative in some way every single day, and I found myself turning to stitching when I haven't had the energy for art. Somehow that seems very relaxing for my brain. Or I've been trying to find ways of making art that feel less pressured, allowing my brain to switch off and my mind to be present in the moment. Even if you don't feel up to making art for whatever reason, sometimes just playing with your materials can give you a similar dopamine boost, and you might find that it gives you some new ideas or reignites your desire to paint or draw again. When I started this page in my sketchbook, I knew I just wanted to play with the Storyteller palette. The colours are soothing and harmonious, and I thought of a couple of potential ideas before I settled on simple botanical shapes. With these shapes, I'm adding very few details, so I'm concentrating mainly on how the paint flows, adding more or less water to vary the intensity of the colour, or to enhance the granulating properties of some of the pigments. If you'd like to do the same, I would suggest choosing between maybe 10 to 15 colours that you think will work well together, and then search for botanical shapes or leaf shapes online and use those as your reference. You can make them look as abstract or as simple as you like. You don't have to copy them exactly, and don't allow yourself to get bogged down in the details. Use the reference images as your starting point and just see where your brush takes you. For my swatches, I decided to use one colour for each design, so I gradually worked my way through the palette of 15 colours, and so I'll end up with 15 designs. Then I added something to them, but I'm going to talk to you about that when we get to the end of the video. It's a way of making your swatches even more interesting. But you can basically do this however you like. I decided to do mine very intuitively. I didn't pre-plan where I was going to put each design. I just decided in the moment. So mine ended up kind of random, but I did work from the top of the page to the bottom, generally speaking. So you could do this in many ways. You could perhaps do them in a row, or you could perhaps even draw a circle and do them within the circle. I think there are so many different ways that you could make this look fantastic. You could even do them as a border around the edge of the page, and then perhaps write something in the middle, or even paint a picture in the middle. It's completely up to you what you do. The most important thing is you're just allowing yourself to enjoy the colours and enjoy the feel of painting. I remember being concerned at this point that I had kind of messed up this composition. I felt like some of the botanical designs were a bit too close to the others and it was throwing everything off. But then I tried to remind myself to just enjoy the moment, stay in the present and enjoy the act of painting. This wasn't meant to be a masterpiece. And as it turns out, I found a way around this later on, which I'm going to share with you in a bit. But I constantly need to remind myself to not be so judgmental of my work. I'm really trying to learn this. It's very difficult because I think throughout my entire life, been very self-critical. In fact, I received a comment the other week and it was so scathing. It put down everything, criticised everything that I do, from my videos to my art to me as a person. And I said to Dominic that these people really needn't do this because I'm hard enough on myself. The things I tell myself are probably many times far worse than anything anyone else can say to me. So one of the lessons I'm trying to learn as I get a little bit older is to be less judgmental of myself and less critical, because of the many people who follow me online, the vast majority of them tell me that I am too self-critical, and I agree with them. So I'm trying really hard to not keep judging myself as I go along when I'm working on something, to just try to relax a little bit, relax into it and enjoy the process. And I'm trying to pass that on to you today. So if you find yourself at any point when you're working on something, if you hear that voice in your head that's telling you, this is no good, it's not going as planned, you need to scrap it, you need to stop working on it, I would say just ignore that voice. Continue on as if that voice isn't there, because I did that with this piece. I reminded myself to stay present and I continued, and I ended up with a page in my sketchbook that I really love and that actually has a lot of good memories attached to it. So let's all try to just enjoy the process, be present and not judge ourselves. I think it's interesting to note at this point that this spread actually took me about an hour and 20 minutes to complete. I don't know whether that's longer or shorter than you thought, but it's very hard to tell from an edited video exactly how long something takes. But when I'm working on something like this, I would probably set aside an hour or two just so that I can really get into it and enjoy the process, as I said earlier. So I put on a knitting and sewing podcast in the background, which I really enjoy listening to, and I just allowed myself to play in my sketchbook. I think that swatching your colours is really important. The reason it's important is that colours can look very different in the pan or in the tube than they do on the paper. You can also experiment with adding more water or less water, because this can really change the look of paints. Now, for those of us who've been painting for years, we know all of this already. But if you're just starting out with watercolour, I think it's really important that you get to know the paints as well as you possibly can. If you take the time to do that before you actually sit down to work on a painting, you'll find that you have a better result in the end, because you'll know what the paints can do, you'll know how much water to add. And as you can see from these designs, I've tried to vary how much water I'm adding, and sometimes I go back into the pan of paint and add a little bit more pigment if I want a darker area. And in this respect, these swatches tell you a lot. So I would say just have fun with it. There are so many ways you can swatch like this. I actually have another couple of videos on my channel, which I'll try to remember to link to, but please nudge me if I've forgotten. They're about pebble swatching. So pebble swatching is, as it sounds, it's a way of swatching your colours like this, but you do them in the shape of pebbles. It works particularly well with granulating textured colours. And so you might want to watch those videos after you've watched this one, but I hope that all of them can give you just a little bit of inspiration to perhaps spend the time playing with your colours and get to know them a little better. It was at this stage, when I'd worked my way through all 15 colours in the palette, that I decided this page needed something else. And that something else was some pattern. So I'm going to start painting what I'm calling my seeds and berries. They're just little marks, but I felt they fitted in with the botanical theme, and I basically worked my way through all of the colours in the palette again. So starting at the beginning, as I did with the light yellow ochre, and I used them all again to work my way from the bottom up to the top, just filling in all of the gaps. And this just somehow gave the piece movement. It brought everything together. It didn't seem to matter that some elements of the composition were not particularly spaced very well, because it filled in all of those gaps. So everything felt kind of busier, more alive, more free-flowing. And I would say this is a pretty good little tip, because I hadn't thought to do this at the beginning, but just sitting there and looking at the page after I thought I'd finished was when I came up with this. So I went through all of the colours again and just filled everything in. Now, you may want to do something different to yours, but that's the beauty of something like this. However many times you do it, it's always going to be different and it's always going to be unique. Here's the finished sketchbook page, and I hope that this video has inspired you to have a go at this yourself, even if you're a complete beginner and very new to watercolours. I think that you can do this quite easily, and I hope that you're going to be pleased with the results as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please hype it, please share it with your friends, please leave a comment, and perhaps consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I also offer Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. I'll leave links to everything in the description beneath the video, so you can go there if you want to check anything out. Okay everyone, take care and stay creative. Until next time.